We have this question come up a lot on our Facebook group, and it's been answered probably 30, 40 times at least. And the question is, how much do you guys pay your employees? So we're going to talk about paying your employees today. Welcome to the 10-Minute Food Truck Training Podcast. My name is Bill Moore. I am a food truck business coach, author of 5 food truck vending books, including Food Truck 101 and Food Truck 201. This podcast is all about helping you start and grow your food truck business. Table Needs welcomes you to listen in as Christian and Tracy, co-owners of Restless Coffee, spill the beans on their debut year in the food truck scene, uncover the secrets behind their secret menu, how they continually provide stellar customer service, and why building a strong community following is so important. Click the link in the episode description to watch the video for free. So whenever somebody asks in our Facebook group, how much do y'all pay for your employees? We get several different answers. And they're always some dollar amount, $11, $15, $20, $25. And in most cases, they're also going to include the tips with those particular wages. And just remember, if you are an employer and you have hourly employees, they get all the tips. And this podcast is not about tipping today. This is about how much wages you should be paying. So let's talk about just the wage platform in general. Where is your starting wage? I recommend that you go look at or apply for different jobs at a fast casual restaurant. That would be Ruby Tuesdays, TGI Fridays, Applebee's, Chili's, one of those type of restaurants where they have servers that come out to your table, take your order, and then you got cooks in the back. You want to find out how much they're paying those line cooks in the back. Just the starting wage for a line cook. And whatever that is, you're going to pay your team that amount. That becomes your starting wage for everybody. Now, if you're already sitting there starting to argue with me in your mind going, but wait, the cashier doesn't work as hard, you don't understand the positions on a food truck. If there is any position on that food truck that you feel like is not worth the money, then why are you filling that position with somebody? Do without it. Roll the activities that particular position does into the other employees that you think are more valuable. Because remember, you just said they're not worth as much. So if they're not worth as much, then roll those activities into other people and give them a little bit of raise. So the point being, you got to have all the employees paid the exact same amount to start. Now, that doesn't mean the folks that have been with you a year or two don't get to make more money. They should. And as they learn other jobs, they should also become a better paid employee. So when you hire somebody, there should be a clear-cut path for them to make raises and bonuses. And then you should work really, really hard to help them get their own raises and to help them get those bonuses. Because if you're helping them get the raises and you're helping them get the bonuses, guess what you're doing? You're making more money. So yeah, you want to help your employees to make more money, but it's not a give me. You don't just give them a raise because they've been with you a year. They got to earn it. Are they any better as an employee than they were at the beginning? So let's talk about those wages. Let's say that you go to Applebee's and sit in the interview and they tell you that we'll start you at $17 an hour. Then you're going to pay every single employee that's going to be on your food truck $17 an hour. What that does is it negates the people that are going to jump from learning how to cook on your food truck to a higher paying job at Ruby Tuesdays, because they're making the same amount. And if you're a good boss, they're not going to want to leave the job for a 50-cent raise. They'll stick with you. But the problem is you've got to understand that all the positions are worth the same. So let's talk about why they're worth the same. Look at your positions that are going to be on your food truck. Let's take you out of the equation for a minute. Whatever you do doesn't matter. If you're the cashier, if you're the cook, you're the expediter, or you're just a gopher, it doesn't matter what you do. Let's take you out of it for a second. Let's assume that you're going to be a real manager and a real boss and hire people to do all the labor with their hands. And you're just going to do the thinking. So on the food truck, the minimum positions are going to be 2. You need somebody to be the face, the cashier, the friendly person, the one that's going to suggest a sell, and then you need someone that's going to produce the food. Now, if there's only 2 people on the truck, they both got to kind of know how to do everything. You don't need the cook be left alone for a second while the cashier runs to go to the bathroom and the cook goes to the guest that walks up, oh, you got to wait on the cashier. They went to the bathroom. The cook should be able to step up there and at least engage the guest in conversation and if need be, start an order. And even if there's food cooking, they should be able to multitask and at least get some type of conversation started with that guest. It could be just as simple as, hey, I've got a couple of burgers down. I'm going to go flip those. I'll be right back. And then they go flip them and then they come right back. Sorry about that wait. Can I take your order? What can I get started for you today? And they should know how to ring it up. Got to. Think of the cashier that's left when the cook decides to run to the bathroom. Cashier should be able to ring everything up, and then if the cook is still not back, they should go over and start prepping, start cooking, start getting something going on that order. So you see, all your employees have to be able to do everything, and then you're paying them a good wage for that. Again, if your area is $17 an hour, then you're paying everybody $17 an hour, because they're going to want to learn how to do everything to be more valuable to you. And as they learn more jobs, they get to make a little bit more money. One of the reasons you don't ever want to pay people a wage differential based on the job they do is you just gave them an excuse, and a court-proven excuse, to tell you, no, that's not in my job description. So that cook runs off to the bathroom real quick, and you're expediting, and you notice that the cashier doesn't have anybody to wait on, and you say, hey, cashier, can you run over there and flip those 2 burgers for me? They can tell you no, because you're not paying them to cook, because you chose to say the cashier is not as important as the cook, and you pay them less. And you won't be able to fire them because you have wage differential, because you're asking them to do a higher paying job for nothing. You can't, in all fairness, pay a cashier different than you pay a cook. And again, we're talking starting wages. Now, once that cook learns how to do the cashier position, they get a raise, because now they can do 2 things. Once the cashier knows how to proficiently cook, not just flip a burger, but actually proficiently cook, they get a raise. If they decide they don't want to learn that other position, that's okay. They don't have to get a raise, but they're still being paid the same as that job. So when you tell them, hey, step over there and flip those burgers, they can't tell you no, because they're being paid the exact same amount. And you hired them to work on a food truck. You don't hire them to be cashiers. You don't hire them to be cooks. You hire them to work on the food truck. The job description needs to be as broad as it can possibly be. Everybody should learn how to do everything. The best situations I've had in my past is when my entire staff knew how to do all the positions. And I learned this the hard way. If you've ever been familiar with Hardee's, or you know anything about Hardee's, you know that they have biscuits, and they have a biscuit maker that comes in very early in the morning to start rolling out all those biscuits and then cooking them all. And typically in most Hardee's, they worship the ground the biscuit maker walks on. The problem with that is you get someone that's a little bit arrogant and cocky, they take advantage of it. We had one lady knew how to make biscuits better than anybody else. And when I took over that store, they told me she has every weekend off. She refuses to work every Saturday or Sunday. Saturday's the busiest day at Hardee's. That was just stupid. Why anybody would agree with that, I have no clue. You want your best people in position when you're going to be the busiest. But they granted her the weekend off because they was afraid. They didn't want to lose her. So the first thing I did was I told her, is there a reason why you don't want to work on Saturday and Sunday? No, I just like having them off. Well, if you want to continue to work here, then you're going to have to give up one or the other. I'll give you one, but I'm not giving you both, because it's not fair to everybody else that's here. But I'm the biscuit maker. Yes, you are. And you're also replaceable. It's your choice. I took away the little bit of power that biscuit maker had by letting them know that your job is no more important than anyone else's job in this restaurant. And she did things that no one else could believe. She started working on Saturdays when I needed her to. She would stay later than 11 o'clock because no one ever took the time to teach her how to make the sandwiches. All they wanted her to do was make biscuits and then go home. Well, I taught her how to make all the sandwiches. I got her more hours because now she could stay until 1 o'clock and make sandwiches through lunch. And if it was slow, I could send her home early. No big deal. She became a better employee because I let her learn how to do more stuff, and she got to make more money. But I was not going to be held hostage by somebody in a single position. And what else did I do? I trained the entire staff that worked day shift how to do biscuits. So on those days when she was sick and maybe couldn't come into work, or she wanted to take a vacation, I didn't have to worry about the quality of the food because I had other people that could do biscuits. You cannot let yourself get in a position where you think that one employee is more valuable than anyone else, because it's going to lead to, number one, you being unfair, and it's going to lead to a problem in the future. Pay them all the same, teach them how to do everything. Now, it doesn't mean that they're going to be great at the other positions, but they got to at least know the basics and how to do them. So if you get in a bind, they can help. These are the reasons why you want to pay your employees all the same to start. So please hear me. Pay them all the same to start. Number one, it shows that you're fair. Number two, it shows that there are no discriminatory practices in your food truck. Because as soon as you start to treat one person different than another based on wages, the people that are being paid less start to look for the reason why. Is it because she's a pretty girl? Is it because they're a different color? Is it because they're smarter? Is it because they do things for the boss off the clock? They start to look for those reasons. And when they latch on to one of those reasons, now you got dissension among every employee that you got. All because you said that cook is more valuable than a cashier. That shows very limited thinking on your part. Another reason you want to make sure that you are paying, again, starting wages are all equal. It creates retention. It creates motivation. Because you're going to tell everybody, I'm starting at $17 an hour, and here's how you earn the next 50 cents or the next $1. Now they have something to look forward to. How can I get that next $1? When you start to pay everybody the same, it also helps to reduce costs because it leads to lower turnover because everybody feels like they're equal. They don't look at that cook and go, gosh, I wish I could do that and make $17 an hour. They're only paying me $10 because I'm a cashier. Do without the cashier one day. You'll see real quick how important that cashier is. And if you train the cashier right, they will earn their $17. They'll earn it by suggested selling. They'll earn it by the little things that make people want to come back. But if you don't teach the cashier how to be great, you're basically saying, I don't care about my guests. They don't deserve a great cashier. They just deserve somebody that knows how to push a button on a POS system. Once people understand that you pay a decent wage and it's consistent among the employees, you'll start to attract more talent. Because what you're going to find is as you start to work with your employees and you teach them how to do the job right, so you now don't have to worry about doing stuff with your hands. You can let your mind start to do marketing and other networking activities to drive sales. Then you don't have to get so worried about, how am I going to pay you the $17 an hour? It also makes it stable for your employees. Because what you're going to have when you pay that cashier $10 or $11 because you're a cheapskate and they know that the other person is making $17 an hour is now they have to be worried about, oh man, I need a raise. How am I going to get up to $17 an hour? You've already said that the one job's worth more. So the only way they can make more money is to take over the other person's job. Now you got animosity. How do I get rid of this guy so I can move into his slot and make $17 an hour? This is the fodder of soap operas. How do I kill him off so I can make more money? Pay him all the same. There's lots of reasons why you should pay exactly the same. Let's just real briefly look at the positions on a food truck and get you to understand the productivity, because that's what's lacking in most food trucks. And this is why they pay a wage differential, because they think they're saving a few pennies. So if you have two positions, let's say, where I talked about a cashier and a cook, what if you add on a third person? Now you got an expediter or a secondary cook. They're all being paid the same amount, so they all do the same work. They don't care to help each other out because they all get paid the same. So two people should easily handle one guest every 3 to 4 minutes. So you're having one guest every 3 minutes. That's 20 guests an hour. That's a very leisurely pace. There's no rush on anybody's part. Two people should be able to handle that without a problem. You get above 20 people an hour, now you might need that expediter. The question becomes, you need that expediter for a full hour. And if you can't justify having an expediter there for a full hour, you need to figure out a way to become more efficient with the two employees that you do have. Thin the menu down, thin the processes down, do something so that you can handle more people an hour until you reach that point where you can afford having an additional third employee. You want to be able to control your labor cost? You want to be able to improve employee morale? Learn how to pay your employees what they're worth. And that starts with checking out the competition. And I'm not talking about other food trucks. I'm talking about restaurant competition. Whatever they pay their line cooks, you pay your team. And you give your team that clear-cut path to wage increases and bonuses. If they don't have something to look forward to, they're going to jump ship. And it doesn't matter how much money you pay them. They will find somebody else that will pay them better. Thank you so much for listening to the 10-Minute Food Truck Training Podcast. If you're finding all the information helpful to your food truck business, please become a monthly supporter of the podcast. Just hit the support button or follow the link in the description. Every little bit does help keep us going. Join our Facebook group. It's called Food Truck Training. We have a whole bunch of awesome members at all different levels, from brand new beginners to decades-old veterans. They've all got your back when it comes to helping you with your food truck. And again, thank you for listening. Come back tomorrow, because you know I got plenty more to say when it comes to helping you and your food truck business grow.